The draw has concluded, the playoff teams know their course, and it is time to go over each of the 6 groups we'll see in the 2024 Euros next summer. Guys, Manny G. Beck here with you on Football with Flags. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's get to it. We'll, of course, get things started in Group A with the host Germany, who have had some decent results as of late as they move on from the Hansi Flick era into Julian Nagelsmann. But with back-to-back losses against Turkey and Austria recently, still has plenty of people scratching their heads. Of course, remember a round of 16 loss to England in the last Euros. But this side, again, I think are eager, along with their fan base, to just hopefully get through this group unscathed too much, with an opportunity to make a deep run into the knockout stages. Keep in mind, the last 2 times they have been on their home soil in major tournaments. 1988 was the last time they hosted the Euros. They lost out in the semis. And then, of course, the 2006 World Cup, where they lost to Italy in the semifinals as well. We'll move on to Scotland, who had a group stage exit in 2021, just a point through their 3 games. They took a draw off of England, which was impressive. But again, this side, I think, is much more poised to make a better run through the group stage this time around, especially considering the start that they had to qualifying back this past year. But we'll have to wait and see. For Switzerland, down there at the bottom, a group that, again, took a 3-1 win versus Turkey in their final group stage game in 2020 just to advance to the knockouts. But then, of course, the unbelievable comeback against France in extra time to take that game to penalties. Sommer comes up with a huge save, of course, against Mbappe, and they make a run to the quarterfinals. And this side has done it before. We've seen it in World Cups as well. It's just a question of whether or not they can get over that quarterfinal hump and maybe take a step further in a major competition. As for Hungary, they, of course, were in the group of death back in 2020 with Germany, Portugal, and France. Took a point off of France and Germany. Really solid results there. Again, they were playing in Budapest a couple of times as well, but still very, very impressive results. I think they look fairly solid in qualifying as well, and I definitely think this is a group that they can seize more of an opportunity from, with a shot to hopefully get to the round of 16. And guys, again, I feel like, just off the top of my head, Germany should be able to take advantage of this group. We'll see if anybody has any upsets for them. But as for the rest, I definitely think that this Group A has a great opportunity to see 3 teams move on to the knockout stages. Of course, Group B is going to get my vote for the group of death between Spain, Croatia, Italy, and Albania. And we'll start off with Spain, who needed a 5-0 win against Slovakia in their final group stage game back in 2020 just to get to the round of 16. And then we all know what happened from there. A 5-3 thriller against Croatia in the round of 16 before getting to the semis and losing out to Italy in penalties. The loss of Gavi with his ACL is going to be unfortunate, but the Spanish side is still very strong and got a lot of young, great talent on their side. Again, winning the Nations League title back months ago. I think this side's in a good state still to be very competitive in this competition if they're able to make it out of the group. As for Croatia, second and third, of course, in the last 2 World Cups, yet the best run they've had in the Euros is a quarterfinal twice, last time being in 2008. Last time they exited the group stage in this competition was in 2016, and they happened to be in a group with Spain and Italy then as well. We'll have to wait and see how the Croatians do. But for Italy, our previous defending champions, 2020, their first title since 1968. They missed out, of course, again on their second straight World Cup in 2022. And while obviously the pain is, I'm sure, just unbearable for the fact that they've missed out on the biggest stage of them all, considering they've won that competition 4 times. The opportunity to come back and defend their European title, I think they are very excited for, even though, again, some controversy there late with Ukraine in their final qualifying game to get automatic qualification without having to go through the playoff. But nevertheless, they are here and ready to go. As for Albania, a 1-0 win versus Romania in their group stage in 2016, and yet they missed out on goal differential for that 3rd place spot by just 2 goals. They lost 2-0 to France in the group stage, and I can't help but think that, if they take a draw out of that, they'd certainly get through. Keep in mind, France scored those 2 goals against Albania, both in extra time, and such a disappointing loss for Albania with the chance to get to the round of 16. This group really serves them no better, but I know that they're going to attack it with a lot of great opportunity and confidence, hoping that they can somehow spoil the party. On to Group C we go, which has some historical significance with the sides in it. We'll start with Slovenia, who last played in a major competition in the 2010 World Cup. The last time they qualified for the Euros was 2000, and that just happened to be the same time that we last saw Serbia in this competition as well, except at that point they were still under the name FR Yugoslavia. These two sides drew 3-3 in the group stage, and here they are. They will meet 24 years later once again. But for Slovenia, really excited for them. It's been a while since they've had a shot at a major competition, and I definitely am excited to see what they have up their sleeve. And we'll go on to Denmark now, who needed a 4-1 win versus Russia in Copenhagen to advance as the second-place team in their group. Back in 2020, they go on to beat Wales and, of course, Czechia in the knockout stages before losing to England in the semifinals in extra time. This Denmark side did not have a good run in the 2022 World Cup, but I think this Danish group are eager to get back on the right track and definitely have a good shot of advancing out of this group as well. As for Serbia, first time again in the tournament under the name Serbia. The last time they were here, of course, was in 2000, like we mentioned earlier. Again, this side, a really talented group, in my opinion. I think definitely a dark horse to get to the round of 16 and maybe cause some chaos from that point on. But again, I think this group is fairly wide open as well. Pretty similar to the group that we see in Group A, in my opinion. But we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. As for England, of course, lost to Italy in the final of the 2020 Euros in a shootout. It's certainly, in my opinion, I think a favorite in this competition. We saw them get bumped out against France in the World Cup last November. But again, this England side is just so deep. They're so strong. And really, I think another force to be reckoned with this time around, with a great shot at hopefully hoisting it all. Off we go to Group D, and remember, the next three groups will involve a playoff winner that we'll all find out in March, of course. But we'll get started with Netherlands, who had that round of 16 loss to Czechia in 2021. Again, this side was kind of up and down during that competition. I believe they had a red card in that game as well, which really kind of hurt their chances to possibly advance as well, and Czechia took advantage. But again, Netherlands with an impressive performance, I thought, in the World Cup last November. They came up just short, and a very impressive comeback against Argentina in that quarterfinal in Qatar. But keep in mind, too, the last time Germany hosted the Euros was back in 1988. Netherlands were the champions of that competition. They defeated Germany, who was West Germany at the time, in the semifinals, as they would go on to win the title. Again, not saying that history will repeat itself, but certainly something worth mentioning, in my opinion, at least. But definitely, I think the Dutch are a side to keep an eye out for, to go towards the latter stages of this competition and make a deep run. Now on to Austria, who lost in the round of 16 as well to Italy in extra time, and it was a fairly impressive performance in that competition from them. They beat North Macedonia and Ukraine in the group stage and lost to Netherlands 2-0. Those were their results. But again, to take Italy into the next 30 minutes was certainly impressive. They had a couple of decent chances, but Austria, I think, another side that this group in general, we'll see who the playoff winner is, but I think definitely this group could take three teams out of it as well, and Austria being involved in that could definitely happen, in my opinion. So certainly keep an eye out for that. And again, France, they're at the bottom, and an entire group thus far without that playoff winner being established, that all lost out in the round of 16 for, in their eyes, certainly sooner than they would have liked in the last Euros, of course, losing to Switzerland, as we talked about before. But again, keep in mind, France getting to the final in 2016 on their own soil, losing to Portugal. I think they really feel like that they have lost out on a couple of opportunities in the last few competitions to go and claim this title the way that they were able to do with the World Cup in 2018. And again, we know the plethora of talent that France have, the depth that they have. It's just a question of how healthy can they stay. You know, obviously they can have the next man called up and vice versa, and how that works. But France in general, I'm sure, would love to be as healthy as possible going into this competition as well, knowing that they have struggled with that as of late in previous competitions. On to the next to last group, and we'll begin with Belgium, currently ranked 4th in the world. A couple of really impressive runs in the World Cups of 2014 and 2018, but they've been bumped out of the last two editions of the Euros in the quarterfinals consecutively. This Belgian side, again, with the fluctuation in players in terms of some of this golden generational talent starting to fade away and having new faces come up, still an impressive group, but considering how poor that run was back in November last last year in the World Cup in the group stage is just something certainly I think still to be a bit worried about. They were pretty impressive in qualifying, and I definitely don't think we'll see too many issues for them in this group stage. But really, it's more of a question of just how far can they go in the knockout round. If they get bumped out of the group stage at this point with this type of group, again, no disrespect to the other teams, but I think it isn't a huge failure. So we'll have to wait and see for them. But moving on to Slovakia. Round of 16 run in 2016 for that edition of the Euros, but then getting bumped out in the group stage of the 2020 edition. They missed out in 2020 based off goal differential. They were the third place team in their group, but missed out by 4 goals on that goal differential positioning, and that's a shame because, again, the Slovakian side I think is pretty solid and did very well in qualifying also, and would have probably won their group had it not been for Portugal just absolutely dominating everyone and going totally unbeaten with a 10-0-0 record. But excited for Slovakia in a group with potential. And then last but not least, Romania, a group stage exit in 2016. They went 6-4-0 in qualifying, beating Switzerland for the top spot in their group. A very impressive run for this Romanian side, and again, a group that I think has some room for possibility to hopefully get to the round of 16 as well, whether it's just 2 or potentially 3 teams advancing as well. Moving on to the final group, Group F, and we'll start with Turkey, who beat out Croatia for the top spot in their qualifying table and recently defeated Germany in an exhibition. Couple of impressive feats for sure, but even though they are impressive and something I think to stand on moving forward with some confidence, this side had a horrible showing in 2020, only scoring, I believe, 1 goal, not getting any points, and finishing bottom of their table, getting eliminated after the group stage, when really a lot of people thought Turkey could be a dark horse in 2020, and they did not live up to the hype at all. So definitely looking for a great chance here. And again, another group that's fairly wide open. We'll see who the playoff winner is. But with Portugal and Czechia, I still feel like Turkey can be very competitive, put some points on the table, and see if they can get out of it to make a run in the knockouts. We'll have to wait and see. But then moving on to Portugal, 2016 Euro champions, of course, in France, advancing out of the group with 3 draws. Remember that if you don't. And again, they fell to Belgium in the round of 16 in 2020. Pretty disappointing run considering, again, being defending champs, thinking they had a pretty good opportunity to make another impressive run. Could this be Ronaldo's last big tournament? We'll have to wait and see, of course, even if he is on the roster. I feel like he will be, though, considering the part that he played in qualifying. And again, this team went 10-0-0 throughout that stretch. A very impressive run. I think they had like a plus 30 something goal differential throughout that entire time. Just ridiculous. So again, this group shouldn't be too big of an issue for them. I feel like just a question of what type of path do they have to sort through in the knockout stages. We'll have to wait and see. And then finally, Czechia, quarterfinal run in 2020, beating Netherlands, of course, as we spoke before, losing out to Denmark in the quarterfinals. They beat out Poland for automatic qualification, even though they were tied with Albania on points in their group. Were able to get through automatically. And again, I think a side that, we'll have to wait and see. I definitely don't see them winning the group, but certainly could maybe get second or third and possibly play spoiler again. But we'll just have to see what happens down the road. Well, that's all she wrote for this video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. Thanks again so much for watching. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already done so. And please let us know as well any content you'd like to see us make down the road as well. We've got plenty more coming your way with tournaments coming up in January and February, along with into the spring, and some playoff games as well, that type of stuff. But please let us know if there's anything you'd like to see. But with that being said, guys, I hope you have a blessed day, and we will see you soon. Peace.